this is your boy, the Omega 13 of the Omega 13 podcast, and today we are featuring our returning guest, SRW D80, and he brought in a special guest by the name of Kaiser. It's a really good one. I recommend enjoying this one as much as us recording it. So that's all to say for now. Enjoy. This is Omega 13 from the Omega 13 Dimension podcast. Host, protector, and general. And today we have our returning guest, SRW D180223, and he also brought in a guest as well as a fan, MVGKAISER.
Hello, glad to be here.
Glad to be back. Thanks.
My pleasure, you guys. Yeah. Sorry I sound like a little tired because I just got up this morning to do this podcast.
Yeah, time zone difference. Yeah.
I know that feeling, dude. I know that feeling.
Okay. But perhaps I'll ask the first question since Kaiser is our guest for today.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, Kaiser. Perhaps you could start by introducing yourself to the audience.
Hello, everyone. My online handle is MVGKAISER. You can call me Kaiser or Kaiser Sensei for short. I'm a Filipino.
Yeah.
I live in Cebu, Philippines. That's like it's in the center of the country. We're the second most developed city next to Manila, our capital. And I work as a creative representative in the entertainment industries. And I mostly focus on the animation, comics, and games industry.
Nice. That's really cool. So basically, you're the dude that's like you work the department that works with the games, and the animations and the like.
Well, more so informally. I'm not like a government or employee or anything. A lot of what I do is voluntary work. My job is like trying to help develop the industry here, which I'll elaborate on in a bit.
Okay, really cool.
All right. So how did you get into mecha in general?
Oh, gentlemen, that's a very interesting story. It all started when I was a wee lad.
Yeah.
You know, I've been living, breathing, and eating comics, animation, games ever since I was a kid. You know, I grew up with a lot of anime, a lot of Disney stuff, cartoons, and a lot of giant robots. As a kid, I watched a little show called Voltes 5.
Love that series. I just watched it recently.
It's iconic in your country.
Yes, actually, it's actually one of the biggest anime in our country. Not just mecha, but anime in general. When you think anime in the Philippines, Voltes 5 always comes up. It was just to give you guys an idea on how big Voltes was in the Philippines. I think you've overheard about certain things that it was banned in the country at one point due to a certain political leader.
Yep.
At one point, and then it had reruns later on. I happened to watch Voltes 5 during its reruns in the 90s because I was born 1990.
Okay.
So, you know, they had a bunch of reruns in the 90s, and then cool thing here was it was such a big thing when it had the reruns in the 90s because they had a full-blown toy line that was released exclusively here. They even compiled, would you believe, the last 2 to 3 episodes as a movie and released it in cinemas here.
Nice, man.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
It was so epic, I'll tell you. I remember vividly when I lined up for the Voltes 5 movie, as they called it. There were cardboard cutouts of the robot and the pilots that you could take pictures with, and it was a long queue, like hundreds of people, man, lining up for the movie.
Yeah.
Is it still popular, even though it was like released decades back?
Yes, the Voltes merchandise re-releases and like that are very prolific here in the Philippines. And in fact, they're still releasing new like re-releases of Voltes 5 stuff just for the Philippines, would you believe?
Damn, I didn't
Oh.
notice that. Like new cosplay items, new toys, new posters,
Yeah,
new wallets.
mugs, collectible figurines, even re-releases of old action figures.
Holy shit! Only for the Philippines, not even Japan. Holy
Well, it
crap!
would be manufactured in Japan, then
They'll
sold here.
sent to the Philippines and just that.
Yep.
Man.
Maybe because Japan has too many robots already.
They're oversaturated with
Yeah.
choices, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that so Voltes was a huge part, but it was not the only one. It was a multi combo of influences that really got me into it. So of course there was Voltes. I'm a big PlayStation kid. I've owned the PS1 till 4. I plan to get the 5 eventually. And there were a lot of mecha games I played on that. I think if you guys heard of a game called Armored Core.
You love that series.
Okay.
Big fan of the series.
Man, I love that, especially the PS2 titles in the series. And then, of course, I grew up with Gundam Wing.
Yeah.
Because get this, we actually have our own. We have we have Cartoon Network Philippines. Like it's a Philippine version of Cartoon Network, and it's official. And we also had Toonami as well.
Yeah.
So I watched Gundam Wing there, and that's like one of my all-time favorite Gundam of all time. And then, of course, there was Zoids as well.
Chaotic Century.
Yes, and new. I watched everything up till Fusors.
Oh,
And then, of course, your usual suspects like Voltron and all that.
So we are the three of us should be like in the same generation. All of us mentioned Gundam Wing.
Gundam Wing got me into robots, dude. Like the first episode hooked me in.
Yeah, with the Operation Meteor and everything.
Yes. Yeah, because back in America, we had censored anime because of the whole violence and the whole whatever. And
yeah, I heard about that.
And seeing people getting vaporized for the first time surprised me.
Yeah. And then if you think about it, the Gundam Wing had very heavy political themes. You know, that's a lot for a kids show. You know.
Yes. I just like the Giants robot just made me hooked to it, not the political stuff to like later on. And the original Mobile Suit Gundam as well is way too slow for me as a kid. And I start to appreciate it by playing the games and rewatching the anime.
Same here, dude. Like my first exposure of the original Mobile Suit Gundam and the Universal Century was a bunch of PlayStation games. Actually, there was this Japanese game where you play Amuro's story up to Counterattack. I forgot the name. And then there was Encounters in Space in the PS2 also.
Journey to Jaburo. That was difficult, but I managed to beat it.
Yeah.
Controls and everything, man. I still don't know how I finished it. I raged so much while playing Journey to Jaburo and Battle Assault 3 Gundam featuring Gundam Seed. I raged so much during those games.
I remember that one. Like, dang.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. The battles all to the Gundam.
Especially you're fighting those Zoid-like units. I forgot those names of those units. Yeah.
The Bakru.
Yeah.
The blue dog cat thing.
Ugh.
Oh.
Yeah, man. Hitboxes, man.
Yeah.
Then they're always faster than you.
Always faster. Had to dash a lot. Have to my God, it was a mess.
Doesn't help that they're low. You know, you have to constantly do a low hit or something.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that one game is basically you can battle with units from Gundam Wing or the original Mobile Suit Gundam, which route you unlock.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I tried to main Wing Zero
Yeah.
custom. I remember that.
The one with the angel wings, basically.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm about to say here is probably not a very popular opinion, but I love that design, honestly.
Same
Me.
here. I like the Wing Zero in general.
All
Mission,
right.
mission complete.
Yeah.
And then he'll self-destruct also.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe we could touch on what you mentioned earlier. Maybe you could tell us more about what you do for a living. Like, yeah, maybe go more in depth.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So I work with the government of my province, Cebu,
Mhm.
and we have an initiative to try to help grow the as what we call the creative entertainment industry here,
Yeah.
which we identify that as comics, animation, and games.
Yeah.
And then my job is to basically talk with various people in the business to learn the best practices and secrets to help see how we could apply that here
Yeah.
in our island, and then of course make exchanges and partnerships. So and then uh, trying to just help grow more opportunities in animation, comics, and games locally.
Yeah.
So helps me. I end up networking with a lot of people, like a lot of studios, and then I coordinate with people in like the government and our local business chamber.
Yeah.
So it's really handling the business side of animation and like that.
That's still really cool though. You managed to like in your province or you're in the Philippines where you arrange like shows to be put out and to promote as well as to try to promote your own animation industry
Yeah.
and the like.
It,
That's kind of cool.
thank you, thank you. It's a lot of hard work, and it's not all fun games. It's actually more fun to be a fan and to watch the shows. I'm the one of those no-name guys in the background with a thankless job
Yeah.
to help get the shows out there. I mean,
Yeah.
just as a clarification, I'm not working on any shows yet because I'm fairly new, but I
Yeah.
am coordinating with the studios who are working on those shows.
Yeah. If you need a mech design, just tell me. I just make a quick little doodle and I'll be more than glad to do it.
My friend,
Yeah.
I think we have something interesting to talk about after the podcast is done. I have something I can share with you.
Yeah.
So, but aside from that, I'm also an aspiring producer. So these are the guys who help coordinate the productions and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm also working on developing new IPs and stories that
Yeah.
could be made into animation, comics, and games.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I mainly do
Yeah.
with my time.
Yep. That sounds really cool though. Your dream job is to basically be a creator, a content creator, like I am.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the dream.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say I'm learning a lot to help get to that point. Because being in the industry opens your eyes to a lot of things. Things you wouldn't know if you're just a fan.
Yeah.
Okay, then perhaps since he has given you so much more insight, so perhaps you could share what's the difference when you see things from a fan and from the job point of view.
All right. I'll start as a fan because I started as a fan, just like you guys and everybody else and everybody in the audience.
Yeah.
When you're a fan, you're just there, outside looking in. You just watch the show. You have your opinion about it, and then you're done.
Yeah.
On our end, there's so much coordination, so much work behind just even producing 1 minute of animation.
Dude.
And then you have to then coordinate with the other producers and then the distributors to release it on TV. And then if you miss a deadline, okay, you're
in
screwed.
trouble.
So it's a vastly different thing because when you're just a fan, you can just sit there, watch a show, and then you're done. Here, after it's released, okay, the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And then even when the show's done, you still have to see on how, what are the missing ends. Is there going to be a re-release?
Man, that's a lot of work, like, especially getting up in the morning. First thing in the morning, you have a meeting, and you have to arrange with the producers in different time zones due to like living in different countries, and especially living in doing Zoom or going out to the meeting.
Exactly.
Sounds like a mess.
Like freaking A, man. Like
yeah.
Like, get this. Like, sleep sometimes is like, dude, it's like a rare commodity when you're in the thick of it. You know?
Yeah.
You take this when you're like in the thick of the work and you're really doing all the deadlines and everything. You know, you have to sleep when you can, like little 10-minute naps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And you know, and what I'm doing is not as intensive as what animators do, because I'm more on the coordination and management part, versus actual animators. Like, those guys are the guys at the front lines, man.
Yeah.
Like, and those stories you hear about like 20-hour work shifts and stuff, they are true.
Yep. The G's. Some of them even died due to overwork.
Exactly. But, you know, we do it because we love the job. We love the industry. I mean, you wouldn't be able to even last a minute in this business if you don't have a love for it.
The passion. Yeah. Then, so, I mean, since you have been touching on some of the hardships of the job, which part of it do you enjoy the most that pushes you?
There are several things here, actually, I love about it. Of course, learning a lot of insider information. Like, I learn about shows months or even years before release.
Even in Japan or the United States? Damn, that sounds really
mostly
cool.
Japanese stuff, being I'm in Asia.
Yes.
But I have friends who work with American work, and I find out things that are not even mentioned in leaks, man.
Damn.
And also, it gives you a wider perspective because, you know, before, you know, not to put down anybody, just sharing my own personal experience, but before, when you're just a fan, it's so easy to criticize a project. But now, being that I'm working in the industry, I have friends who actually do the animation and all that. When a crappy episode or something like that comes out, I'm not so ready to bash it as I used to, because I know what it takes to get it done. So, you know, I'm very happy. I love that new perspective, you know, and, you know, my job allows me to travel a lot, and I get to meet a lot of amazing people and personalities in the business. And you know, in a way, my exposure in the business has, you know, it's accomplished a lot of long-time dreams I've had. And, you know, I get to work with what I'm a fan of. My job is my passion. I mean, so it sort of makes the hardships worth it, you know.
Damn, man.
Also on another good note, I also get to work with my dad, because he works he used to come from the creative industry, and now, being it's developing again, he's sort of helping me out with what we're doing here in Cebu.
All right, that's cool. At least now you're closer with your dad.
Oh yeah, very. He's my best friend, and he's mentored me a lot about the business. Like, he used to, like, just to give you an idea, my dad used to work in advertising before, and he worked with like the license holders of G.I. Joe to tie it with products in the Philippines.
Oh, so he has been working in the industry for quite a while, since G.I. Joe is involved.
Yeah, like 70s and 80s was his time.
Ooh, yeah. During that time with that dictator, had to ruin everything, but we're not getting political there.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, he was able to get some interesting stuff done during that time.
Yeah.
Okay, then have you gotten the chance to meet any famous people in the industry, perhaps maybe in local or perhaps in Japan? ever since you started this job?
Japan, yes. No famous guys like Toriyama or like that. No famous creators or voice actors yet.
Yeah.
But I have met artists, animators, and studios who worked on big work. Like I was in what we call a trade mission in Japan last year. Trade missions are like these trips with people representing businesses and government in one country to travel to another country to create partnerships and business and an exchange between the two countries. I was lucky enough to be chosen by our government to represent the Philippines and by extension Cebu, my province, to go to Japan and meet actual anime studios in a trade mission.
Yeah.
And dudes, I'll tell you, I got to meet some really cool guys there. Like I got to meet Toei. I went to their headquarters, their actual animation headquarters where they make Dragon Ball, Digimon, the 70s Gonagai stuff. Yeah, Voltes 5, funny story about that.
Yeah.
Toei produced the show, but the animation was done by Sunrise.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So the office I went to did not do Voltes 5 because it's their animation office. They have a corporate office in another area in Tokyo. So anyway, I went there and I got to, and dudes, the Toei office is like super fancy, man. Like they have these really nice ergonomic chairs and like that for their animators, and then and in the bottom floor is a reception area and a museum, and it's open to the public, would you believe? And there's a gift shop also. And in this bottom floor, this museum segment, there at the end of the floor, there's this giant screen, this giant iPad looking thing, and it's a touch screen. And in this touch screen are these little pictures floating around, which are all the anime they animated in that office, and which includes all the 70s Gonagai stuff, Fist of the North Star, Sailor Moon, Digimon. Dragon Ball, of course,
Saint
all
Seiya.
the Dragon Balls, Saint Seiya. And get this, dude, you tap the picture, it'll pop up a window because it's like an iPad, right? So it pops up the window, and then there is Japanese and English options. And then there's a button there that will show the synopsis of the show, and then there's a button that will play the opening sequence. So when you tap that, it'll pop up a video right in front of you, playing the opening sequence, and the music will play from a speaker only in the area you're standing on. This thing is like 20 feet long. And you know, I was there. I had like these companions of mine who were like other dudes in the animation industry and like that, and you know, they were just tapping at the usual stuff like Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon. But me, I was tapping at everything. And the thing about the funny, sort of embarrassing yet interesting thing about this is I couldn't help myself. I was fanboying there in an official.
Oh, I know the feeling, man. I know the feeling of fanboying, and that. Sorry to interrupt you. I was just in a Gunpla store in Jersey, like almost like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and I was super fanboying. They had They had like a large statue of the Gundam there, and I was like freaking out. I was freaking out the whole store. Tech, I'm a fan. But you're at
feeling like it.
You're at Toei Studios.
Yep.
And you're like fanboying, like trying to be hard, not to be trying to be professional though. You don't want to embarrass yourself.
Exactly. But funny thing about it though.
Yeah.
Even if I was acting all fanboying, and I was even singing the songs as they were playing, and they can hear me, like the dudes in my companions and the Toei executives who were touring us could hear me.
Yeah, but I wonder what their looks are. Like.
Here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
The Japanese guys actually were amused by it. Not in a condescending way.
Yeah.
But they were actually happy.
Yes. That you enjoy their products.
Exactly, because here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
A lot of these trade missions, mostly it's corporate business types meeting these studios, and they only talk about business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I interacted with them and when I was going around, I was the only one showing my enjoyment. Even my companions in the trade mission were like saying that I was like a kid in a theme park, which admittedly I was. Because I was going around all their studio, and there's like Toei merchandise and official posters all over the place. You have to hold yourself from not grabbing any of the stuff.
Yeah.
And then, when we got to like a Q&A segment, we sat down and we got to ask questions to Toei execs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, I was the only person in the group who was asking them fan questions. Yeah. Like I was asking, does Akira Toriyama visit this office? Do you happen to work on your tokusatsu hero shows like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider? And the funny thing is, when I asked these questions, they smiled a lot when I was asking these questions. Because most of the questions that everybody was asking is like, oh, how did you design this office? What's it like what's your pipeline like?
The dull questions, man. The boring
ones,
business questions. Like,
exactly.
How you design the office, why you got into the industry, yada, yada, yada. Wow,
exactly.
You're like, do you do tokusatsu there? Or how do you feel about this project and this project? Because why I said because I love it.
Exactly. And the thing is, dude, I'll tell you this, dudes. Yeah. They really enjoyed that, and they were actually happy, and they felt I could notice them relax a bit more when I was answering that, when I was asking those questions. And I would say little bits of Japanese because I can speak a little. And I'm not fluent in it, but I know a few words. When I would respond to them in Japanese, they loved it, man. They would laugh at that in an amusing way, not like in a condescending way, but like they like that, the fact that they saw somebody, who appreciates their stuff. Because these guys in Japan, man, and these studio executives and managers, they go through a lot. Their workloads are huge. And for them to see that their work is appreciated, that's a big thing for them.
Yeah.
But it's really awesome. And aside from Toei, I met the guys who did like how heavy are the dumbbells you lift. I met Studio Satellite. Yeah.
You met Soichi Katamori?
No. I met one of the business managers who worked with him.
Damn.
Like, dudes, get this. So, Satellite, right? So when I had an official meeting with them in our embassy, in the Philippine embassy in Japan, and then, like, dude, it was like a proper business meeting, suits and everything. And then when we met, they showed me their portfolio of work, which was like all the macro stuff, Aquarion, and when I told them I was a fan, he was actually again very happy. And then I was geeking out so much, I asked the business manager if I could get his autograph. And the guy was all embarrassed, and he said he didn't want to, that it was too much to ask, and it's a little bit embarrassing. Though he said if ever I went back to Japan and met him again, he might try to get me Kawamori's autograph.
Nice, man. Basically, you're basically that's the fun part of the job. That I'm surprised I thought they'll be annoyed. So the next question I'd like to ask here is hold on for a minute. Okay, so anyways, we just had a little setbacks right now, so don't worry. We can just edit. We're just going to edit it through our recording software. So anyways, our last question is, while he was at the Toei office and at the trip of Japan, and the studios are like, and studio executives were surprised and actually kind of found it really, really interesting that a foreigner, like not just any foreign fan, a foreign executive, business dude, like actually found interest in liking or like of their products.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was really fun, honestly, and one of the guys I met was really cool. Like when I was telling him about how I was a fan and stuff, like even of the tokusatsu stuff. Like I found out like one of the executives right now in Toei Animation used to be an executive in the Kamen Rider division.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting.
Yeah. So
Kamen Rider
yeah.
for which era?
I think Wizard. I think. If I'm
Oh,
not
so
mistaken.
relatively quite new.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the question I want to ask is, so your opinion on the Mobile Suit Gundam series as a whole. Wait, we already went on this one a bit. So basically, I want to ask instead, what are your feelings on the Western anime fandom's point of view of mecha anime, despite famous anime-tubers saying mecha is dead?
First off, in the end of the day, they don't know. They don't know. They refuse to know, or they limit themselves and end up not knowing.
Yeah.
All of this, I believe, could be attributed to the following things: a lack of perspective, or maybe just trying to go with buzzwords to add more views.
Yeah.
Sort of like, this might be a really bad comparison, but as a guy from the industry looking at it, it feels like an internet version of TMZ or something.
Yeah. TMC.
TMZ,
That bad.
because in the end of the day, guys, the medium may have changed from television to the internet, but a lot of people still treat it in a similar way. It's all about views. It's all about buzzwords and stuff like that. So it's really just that, in my opinion. I'm only just one guy, but I'm looking at this as a person working in the business and having actually worked with the studios. It's really that, and it's a lack of perspective. And credit to certain YouTubers out there. Admittedly, yes, they do live in Japan and stuff, and they have certain sources of info. Okay, credit where credit is due. And everybody has to make a living because those views generate dollars.
Yeah.
But I think there's a better way to go about with it. You can still find a way to be popular at the same time, be truthful. At least that's my personal belief. And it's not a fair or proper thing to go about with things claiming something so strongly when in the end of the day, it's caused by a lack of perspective. It's like, because, knowing the business, like, dudes, when I was there in Japan, that was the 40th anniversary of Gundam. When I was going around, like, there were like these promotional videos showing in these huge monitors in all over Tokyo promoting Gundam's 40th anniversary and some albums. And not to mention, they've just recently constructed that life-size Gundam that actually moves.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me if the genre's dying.
Nope,
500 million. Yeah, 500 million.
It's not dying. It's not dying. In fact, it's thriving.
Exactly.
And look at the U.S. They're starting to recognize it finally.
I mean, here's another one, and this is something for you guys in stateside.
Yeah.
Gundam had its first major marketing push in the U.S. back in San Diego Comic-Con last year. I haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have never seen Gundam push so hard in an American convention before.
Same
honestly.
here.
And well, that has to show something, because talking as a business person, as like a businessman and working in the business side of the industry, a company would never foolishly, put in so many resources on a marketing campaign if they did not have an indication that there was demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
market
unless you're certain video game companies out there.
Yeah.
So, but other than them, I've met these guys, and especially the Japanese make every dollar count. They're very calculative with their moves. So they wouldn't have pushed so hard in a foreign market if they didn't see there was money to be made.
Yeah.
So, and what does that translate to? Demand, henceforth, meaning people want the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you an idea, at least here in the Philippines, like, dude, like I've seen dudes in like I've seen dudes in our equivalent of the ghetto go out of their way to buy gunpla.
Ooh, yeah.
Like they'll save up money from their salaries to get gunpla, and
Because it's affordable.
exactly. And I'll tell you this: you can find, at least in the Philippines, I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the Philippines, you can find gunpla in mainstream toy stores and department stores.
Yes, that's what I'm starting in the US. Sorry to interrupt you, but I saw, there's this mainstream store called Target. I managed to see like a master grade kit, and I was like surprised, like, what, they sell gunpla here? Like, dude, yeah.
Oh, there we go. I mean, like here in Cebu, our local branch of Toys R Us has an entire section of gunpla.
Oh, yeah.
So like,
yeah, correct.
So like, I don't know if that's not showing demand. I don't know what is.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, right, in his video, which I made fun of earlier in the week, his video mentioned that gunpla is for the hardcore fandom, and that it's more expensive in comparison to, say, an anime figure.
Oh, but no, bro. Can I say my 2 cents on that? He's wrong.
Yeah.
He got an F, because basically a gunpla is basically cheaper than an anime figure. Even back in the day, like a gunpla figurine is now like around the high grades around like the $15 range to like the $30 range. And the master grades are on the $30, $20 range to like $60 range, or the 30 to 60. But anime figurine costs like the 80 to like the $100 range, $100 to $200 range.
That's
normally,
true, but
correct.
Yeah.
Admittedly, that's true. I mean, I personally collect both, but of course, there are the cheaper ones. But I think the bigger point here is, like, dude, a guy in the ghetto willing to starve himself for gunpla.
Yeah. Damn.
Then the funny thing, in his video, he showed kids looking at gunpla. Are you going to tell me that the kids are part of the hardcore fandom?
No. They're just casual fans.
That's why. Then earlier I just did a bit of research to see if he had any experience with gunpla, but I don't think he even owned a single gunpla.
Yeah.
Because if he did, he would know the pricing is very different from anime figure. Because even your SD Gundam, they are at most $20-$30 in comparison to an anime figure. The average is about $150.
Yeah.
So you could buy 5 or 6 SD Gundams in comparison to one anime figure.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, gentlemen, it's really just a lack of perspective, because,
or research.
I mean, even with research, it's really perspective, because the things I found out in working the business, you cannot find that online. You have to experience it and talk with the actual people involved. I'll tell you, I've tried scouring the net for the things I found out by talking with people in the business, and it's some of the stuff I've learned is nigh impossible to look for in the net.
Yeah.
Because in the end of the day, they're coming in as they're in a fan level position in terms of the level of exposure and knowledge they have.
Yeah.
That's the simple reality behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not actually talking with actual anime producers and managers and executives knowing the real score of things. You need it. Like I mentioned earlier, talking with these people and being in the industry side of things helps you have a better perspective of what's actually going on. Because you're inside looking in rather than outside looking in. And same thing goes with this situation here. I mean, I met people who've worked with Bandai. I've worked with people who've actually worked on mecha shows. And, we just had that recent announcement from Satellite that they're going to release a new mecha series next year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that one based on a novel, if I'm not wrong.
And if Hollywood, because we're focusing on like the Western side of things, right? Because I think at least here in Asia, it's very well established that mecha is still doing well. Though in the West, for you guys in the Western side of things, I mean, would Hollywood be interested in licensing Gundam for a movie if there was no demand?
Dude,
Yeah.
definitely not if there's no demand for it. Why should they do it?
And the bigger kicker here is the fact that Sunrise is getting officially involved in that project.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's one of their biggest goals, especially the live action movie. They want it to do well.
Exactly. Let's all hope that it doesn't end up like G Savior.
Gee, Savior, we not talk about that crap here.
I mean, there are worse things that they could do.
Yes.
But I think the key thing that he wanted to mention was that there are less mecha anime over the years. But I mean, I'm interested in your perspective on that with that regard.
As a guy who works closely with the animation industry, let's be real about that, and let's look at the situation pragmatically.
Yeah.
It is true. I believe it is true that mecha anime isn't as prevalent as it used to be, like in its heyday back in the 70s to the early 2000s. You know, like you had shows up the wazoo back in the day. So admittedly, and let's be fair, we are not seeing the same numbers as before. Yeah. So that's true. And on a production standpoint, and I can say this very confidently, it is harder to produce a mecha show compared to a regular anime with just dudes. Because you need more people, because you need, if I am not mistaken, you would need a different set of animators for the scenes with the mecha versus the scenes with the characters. Yeah. It's and then you'll have to have a separate mecha designer compared to your character designer. So, you know, it's more people, more expensive. Yeah. And I think Gun Tank in your previous podcast, Omega mentioned that it's more Sakuga heavy, you know, like the level of animation needed. For the show. So that's a reality. So coming from a business perspective, one reason why we don't see as much now is because it's more expensive to produce, and most businesses are not willing to try that unless they really are deeply embedded into mecha, like Sunrise and stuff like that. So in fairness, that's what's going on. But the genre not being as prevalent as it used to be versus being dead are two completely different things. That has to be made clear. Yeah. Because for something to be dead, there has to be absolutely zero stuff happening. So obviously that's not the case. But in fairness, it's not as prevalent as it used to be.
Interesting. So the next question is, besides, what are your thoughts on how you can improve the fandom of mecha anime or as a whole?
For one, my number one piece of advice for fans is, well, don't believe automatically what you hear in the net.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
I always believe in vetting or verifying things. It's always best to check. Fact checking is always important in anything. Yeah. I'll tell you, at least in a business perspective, fact checking could be life or death. So, and it's still equally important as fans. You know, you should always check your stuff, and it's always dangerous and bad if you only base your opinions, especially if these are strong opinions, on impressions. You know, impressions are just purely emotional on that. They are not facts. They are not reality. You always have to check on that. And, you know, find a way to participate. That's always going to be the best way to help improve. Find a way to participate in industry, maybe. Think, okay, if you're complaining that there's not enough stories, try to come up with some.
Exactly.
Try to pitch some. Try to create content in the genre. That's a very good way to contribute to support of the merchandise and stuff like that. If you love the genre, if you really love the stuff, then don't hesitate to get the stuff, buy the merchandise and like that if it is within your means, you know. So that's my take on how it can be improved. You know, always verify the information and find a way to contribute in whatever way you can.
Yeah. So, and other question is how to invite non-mecha fans into the genre. Do that. It'd be different on each side of the globe, but how you can do it in the Philippines?
In my humble opinion.
Yeah.
In my very humble opinion,
yeah.
You first start them with the fairly mainstream shows if they're not familiar with them.
Yeah.
Your Gurren Lagans, your Code Geasses, and etc. You start them with that to ease them in, because if you throw an uninitiated fan into something like I don't know, Goldenar, unless they're really into edgy stuff, they might get shocked by it, you know, with the machine gun tits and all that. But so you start them off with stuff that's easier for them to digest, and then you slowly introduce them into the more hardcore stuff. Because, like, for example, I met this guy who his first major mecha exposure was Gurren Lagann. After that, I showed him Gaogaiga Final, and he thought, "Oh, so that's where it comes from." So that's one way to do it, and I think that is the most organic way to do it.
So the next question is besides mecha, what are your other types of favorite shows or favorite genres in anime, for example?
I love shonen. I've always been a big shonen kid.
Same here, dude.
Awesome, man.
Mecha and shonen.
I love shonen, man. Like your Dragon Balls. I like some. I haven't been super into a lot of the recent shonen, with the exception of like My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. I love Demon Slayer, and then so that and anything super over the top like triggers. It's like trigger stuff. I love Kill la Kill. That Kill la Kill actually helped inspire me to get out of a rut in my life when it came out.
Oh, that's good.
And then I'm a fan of Fist of the North Star, Beelzebub, and then I'm a Street Fighter fan. I watch the '90s OVAs, and then a lot of '90s, 2000 stuff, and collectible anime was always a big part of my life. Stuff like Digimon, Beyblade, Pokemon, and
childhood.
And Yu-Gi-Oh! I still play and collect Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards up to now. Those are the other things I like.
It's just you're up my alley, man. Especially collectible anime is a guilty pleasure of mine. Because I love Beyblade still to this day. And Digimon. Don't forget old school Digimon Adventures. 1 and 2 and Tamers are the best seasons. Even though
I love those.
Even though season 2 has problems.
Exactly. Though I will admit, I agree that season 2 has problems, but my favorite Digimon of all time comes from season 2. It's Imperial Dramon.
That's good.
I own. I wish my camera was working. It's busted right now, but I have 2 Imperial Dramon figurines that transform from dragon to warrior mode. I also have a separate one. It's a paladin mode recolor. So I have 2 Imperial Dramons.
Holy crap, that's cool.
And these were circa 90s, man. Like early 2000s, when the show was popular. That's when I got these. My parents got them for me for Christmas.
Yeah, you begged them. Hey, Dad, can I have this toy here? Pretty please. And then the holiday season comes, like, hey, our son wants one of these, and bam, there you go. You got him.
Exactly. Funny thing about the toys, though, my dad never minded getting me stuff. Of course, within reason. He couldn't get me everything I wanted, but within reason, he didn't mind getting me toys, and he actually was the one who taught me how to take care of my toys. Actually, he said,
Ah,
"Take care of that. That's gonna have value in the future."
Yeah.
He told me that ever since I was a kid. Sadly, I wish I listened to him because I lost a lot of very collectible stuff.
ah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Even more so than my dad. I love my dad and everything. And some of the stuff like Ultraman I got through him. I knew through him.
Yeah.
As well as Goku 13 for crying out loud.
Oh man. Ultraman. I remember I got like a Ultraman Tiga figurine back when I was a kid once.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. My father bought me a Tiga figure.
Those are the days, eh,
Yeah,
Dylan?
yeah.
And like, yeah. Man, you already answered many questions as well as you, man. I really like you because basically when our questions are basically answered while you are answering while you answer one question, you go and you answer the other question, not you even noticing. But what are your favorite types of mecha besides super or real robot, or you just like both of them? I just like both of them because basically they have their own types of hit and misses, but
exactly.
But the one's like over the top, rule of cool, Saturday morning cartoon fare. The other's more dramatic and realistic.
Exactly.
But they're still cool to me, though.
I completely agree with you. I like both, though admittedly, I lean more towards Super Robot. I really love Super Robots because, you know, I love the super over-the-top powers. I love the fact that they're like cosmic or god level things. I love the fact that like mechanical superheroes, because I love superheroes growing up with, you know, I grew up with a lot of Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so when I saw Super Robots, it easily translated. So I really love that aspect of it. So I love both, though I lean more towards Super Robots. And whenever I play Super Robot Wars, I always have a bias on the Super Robot units.
Yeah. And because I'm about to say I'm really tired right now, and how you improve the fandom of the mecha anime as a whole? Like you said before, introduce people to like the mainstream stuff, and then ease them into the genre and tell them about everything about this one certain series, yada yada.
How to improve the mecha fandom? Yeah. Well, number one, because at least I've noticed this in certain forums and groups. I will not name names, but you know, I noticed sometimes certain mecha fans tend to be a little territorial.
Yeah.
I think if we want the genre to grow and the fandom to grow, we have to be more accommodating, more understanding. Not, you know, it's like how different people have different favorite flavors of ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, so we should take it like that. You know, a lot of we have to be more accommodating and encouraging of people to go into the genre rather than being ultra defensive about it, because it will turn people away.
Yeah.
You know, I can at least in an industry standpoint, if you have an overly aggressive approach when you're in a negotiation, the person on the other side of the table will not feel easy working with you.
Yeah.
And it's more likely than not. You are more likely not you are most likely not able to seal the deal or the sale if you're going to be overly aggressive.
Yeah.
It's a give and take. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a give and take. You have to consider both sides.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but if you could try to play on what they like, they say, okay, you like isekai. Let's try to, you show them Dunbine. You show them that recent show with the trap main character, forget the name.
Knights and Magic.
Knights and Magic, yeah. That one. And then, okay, you like over the top action. Show them Gurren Lagann, show them Stardiver. You like gratuitous amounts of fan service. Like if he's like a high school DxD fan, show them Goldenar or Gunsword, you know. So
Gunsword, not to the extent. Goldenar is a different level. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not the same level as Goldenar, but I mentioned Gunsword because they have the same character designer.
Daimidala is a better one.
Oh yeah. Freaking A, those penguins, man.
Yeah.
But exactly, D. So it's really that, because one thing I learned in my work is anything in life can actually be treated like a sales pitch.
Yeah.
And actually going about in anything, especially when you're trying to promote something, it's basically an act of sales.
Yeah.
So if you want to try to sell a guy on an idea, studying how to sell helps. There are tons of audiobooks out there and like videos on YouTube that teach you that.
Yeah.
So that can help. If you're really that passionate about selling an idea to somebody, then dedicating time to learning how to sell helps. Because if you take a too abrasive approach and you just throw all sorts of numbers and facts to a person, people don't respond to numbers, people don't respond to facts. People are emotional creatures. We have to remember that. So you have to play on that. Because people like us who like to look at analytics and data, looking at the facts is natural for us, but most people, they go to anime as a release, as a source of enjoyment.
Yeah.
So you don't want to bombard them with too much information. You just show that it's fun. Like you show mecha's fun and it has its own traits, and a lot of what is said about the genre is misinformed.
Yeah.
And you don't just shout at the guy and say, oh, it's not like this, here's the reason why. No, you have to like show it to the guy, show it, share a video of a really badass scene, encourage the guy, don't overwhelm him, like try out the first 3 episodes of the show, see if you like it. If not, I have another one for you.
That's
Something
really
like
cool.
that.
I should do that approach. Yeah. So you just answered all the questions basically. And one more thing is, what's your opinion on the Mobile Suit Gundam series as a whole?
It is definitely one of the most iconic franchises in the world, not just for mecha, but in all of entertainment, in my humble opinion. It is definitely a flagship of the mecha genre, and of anime in general, actually. If you think of the word anime, Gundam is always going to be associated with that word.
Yeah.
That's how significant Gundam has embedded itself in the consciousness of the world. And, I have to say, the Sunrise has only done an amazing job of maintaining the franchise for the past 41 years, honestly. And, I personally am a huge mega fan of the franchise, aside from Wing, and I love G Gundam and X and a lot of the other stuff. And, nothing says iconic mecha like Gundam does. It's up there with the likes of Mazinger Z and Goku and like that.
Yeah.
So what I can say about Gundam, it's reached the story and the intellectual property of Gundam has reached a level that most of all storytellers can only dream their stories can reach.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you about that. So we're running out of time here, so let's get to the final question before we go, because Sting is like rushing us now. Sorry.
No problem. No problem, man.
Yeah.
No problem.
So this is Omega from Omega 13 here, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as well as us recording it, and him and our guest Kaiser explaining his love for the medium and his job, as well as D180223. And don't forget to make a comment in the comment box below the video if you're on YouTube, as well as to like and subscribe and hit that blue bell for episodes of the podcast or videos or live streams, because I do those too. And also, don't forget to share this video as far and wide as you can to your friends, to your community members, etc. And don't forget, for the podcast wise, don't forget to check it out on Anchor or Spotify. You can access the Spotify through Anchor, which is really cool. Check those pages out. I really appreciate it if you do so and share those as well. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, leave me a DM, drop me a DM anytime on my Twitter. It's open to anyone. And any last words, D180 and Kaiser, son?
All right.
I'll give it to D first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hope everyone had a good time listening to the podcast. Take care of yourselves.
Don't forget, guys, always verify your stuff, and a little understanding goes a long way.
Yeah. Exactly, because basically people don't notice. They're not that exposed to much of it. So it's easy to dismiss something you don't have interest to.
Exactly, or something you don't know about or refuse to know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, research.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you guys able to join today, and me getting up to Cousin US like in the morning, like 10:19 in the morning. And I really appreciate it. I love talking to people all around the world and meeting new people and learning exactly a lot of things today. Especially how appreciative the executives are, like in Japan, about how you really enjoy their products. It gives them better insight on how they do business with you. It's like instead of having a man in a suit telling you about sales pitches and important histories of the company, you got a fan that loves your product, and so he has more emotional attachment to it. So a bit more, it makes their work more easier. Which the West should have done more of hire fans instead of businessmen,
or make fans into businessmen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let the fans be more involved.
Invite them into the studios, invite them into the dubbing, invite them to the localization process that actually enjoy the content.
Or, the fans should probably have the courage to pursue what they love. And, honestly, talking from my experience, I never would have ever imagined I would have met my heroes like this. But a lot of dedication and hard work and faith got me here. So I can't see why it cannot happen for somebody else.
Yeah.
It depends on your luck and combination of hard work.
Yep.
That's really interesting. I learned a lot today, as well as the audience. I hope they learned a lot as well. It's about perspective and learning how to strategize where you attack or to bring people in. Yeah, it's like that.
Negotiation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how that's my really cool story. The executives basically looking at you like, this guy actually likes our stuff. Phew, man, makes it more fun, or makes it more relieving.
Exactly, it makes their long sleepless nights feel worth it.
Yes. Okay, so it's almost at 4 minutes left. Any last words? Like, one more thing that reminds me. Check out SRW D180's channel. He specializes in mecha content as well as he specializes in Super Robot Wars content. If you're a fan of the series, I highly recommend his channel. Really, I do, dude. Go check out Super Robot Wars. I've been checking him stuff out since like the mid 2010s, like Super Robot Alpha 3 or Scenes. Go check those out.
I don't have Alpha 3.
Yeah, and Mazin Kaiser, I'll check out your work one day, and even though you're just as a manager on the producing side, I really appreciate you coming to the podcast.
Thank you. If ever you want to talk more about it, I'm more than happy to share the stuff with you or your friends.
Yeah.
It's always fun to share what I learned about the business with fellow fans.
Okay, before I go, I always want to be a mecha designer. Just want to keep that for short.
My friend, we should talk. I can share with you some interesting stuff.
Okay, we should talk one day. Yeah. So it only has like 3 minutes at that, so I'll just close it from here. People, I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as us recording it. So this is Omega 13 signing off, and you guys right here want to have any final words before we end it?
Nope.
We're good. Just take care of yourselves, guys.
Okay.
Take care.
Two.